Okay, so this is weird after 2.5 years to be around this many people at one time, so just bear with me. So thank you so much for coming out. The show here is called PAiNtDEMIC. I'm sort of playing on like the type of word games that people were doing during the pandemic. So you can see I did that with the word searches. Just sort of, we have a short attention span and a short memory these days, so the word searches are kind of recording all of the weird language that we got surrounding the pandemic. And I actually have word searches that you can take home over there if you want to take one home and do them, and you'll see all the funny words. Basically, the body of work here is just what I did to distract myself and sort of soothe myself during the pandemic. And I think a lot of people also did these things, like bird watching or learning about plants, making maple syrup, getting chickens, getting pets, sewing, things like that. So the show kind of reflects my experience during the pandemic. I did a lot of circular themes because the corona idea, and also that ubiquitous COVID molecule, which actually my main painting there kind of looks like one. But I hope you still think it's beautiful. And then I also did a sound collage, which is a collection of noises that I sort of recorded over the past 2 years. And it tells the story of the pandemic for me in an auditory way. One of the other things I did was I got a digital piano so I could have headphones and learned a few piano pieces. So they're in the sound recording. And you'll hear like all the interruptions. It just sort of reflects how we were all stuffed in the house with our whole family and, you know, trampling all over each other. But then we were so lucky up here we could just like run outside and be in nature. So I think everybody appreciated that in our area. So I guess that's mostly what this show is about. It's the pandemic and what we did during the pandemic, and specifically my personal experience of it. So thank you for coming, and thank you to the gallery for having me, and to my sponsors, and to Mary Milne, who did an excellent job with the audio engineering on my sound collage.
Ken? So I talked to you a year or two ago about this show.
That's right,
You wrote
yes.
an article for Bancroft this week.
Yeah.
You were under a lot of pressure then because it was coming up quick.
I know, so.
And then of course it got delayed.
Yes.
Delayed.
It was supposed to be last summer, yeah.
So what are the recent add-ons?
Well, you can see from the dates, there's a lot from 2022 actually. I was supposed to do this show last July, and it was kind of fortunate for me that it didn't end up happening then, because I have an elderly mom at home and she was having some health issues, and suddenly school was canceled again and my son was home, so I was not getting as much work done as I wanted. So I did do a lot of paintings in the last year, from last summer up till now. And also, like, the pandemic still carrying on, it allowed me to do another word search for 2021 and all the different language that came out in that year. So, and I thought it was pretty appropriate that my show got canceled.
Any other questions? Who are you going to get off easy?
I think I just said it all here.
Okay. All right, last chance for a question.
Well, where do you go from here? What's next for you after these pandemic paintings?
I have an idea. I think I'm going to continue with doing the sound, experimental sound stuff a little bit more. I was going to do more about just, being a mother, working in the home. Like I'm getting into that a bit with this painting, looking at traditional, things that women would do in the house, and yeah, that's just sort of a vague thing right now. I'll see. I have ideas. Sometimes I go back, like in my sketchbook, and I have jotted something down 10 years ago, and finally will come to fruition. So.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Much of your stuff is very outdoors. You spend a lot of time outdoors?
I do, yeah. I think we have a fairly big property, so it's about 200 acres, and we get out there and we make maple syrup. That's something I've been doing with my family for our whole life, pretty much. So I usually do a couple of syrup paintings a year, and I think during the pandemic, for a lot of people, making maple syrup became really a soothing thing for them to do. Like and a lot of people found solace going outside. I noticed online there was like a lot more mushroom hunting, a lot more bird watching happening, a lot more plant ID happening. I think people really started to take that extra time that we had and sort of look more intensely at our environment and appreciate it, as we can tell by all the people that wanted to move up here too, right? Yeah. So yeah, and I'm inspired. I started as a landscape painter, so I'll always paint landscape, but sort of branched out a little bit. Yeah. Oh.
How long did it take to paint?
This one took a couple of, I think maybe I worked on it for probably about 3 months. Now, I'm not like a 9 to 5 painter, right? I'm always struggling with procrastinating, and there were a lot of interruptions during the pandemic, but this one is inspired by this quilt that belonged to my great aunt Olive, and the quilt is decaying, and I was feeling badly about it, and I had this giant panel I bought, and I thought, when sort of ding, I'm going to put the quilt on it, so then I don't need to feel sad about the quilt, you know. And I also very carefully copied quite a few of the little triangles. Like every triangle on here is reflective of a triangle on the quilt. And yeah, and it got me thinking about quilt making. My mom explained how the church ladies would get together and bring all their vintage house dresses for scraps, and that's why you have such brilliant material on these old quilts. So I just felt like it needed recording. Yeah. Thank you. Well, I think we've exhausted
Okay, yes,
questions.
we'll let you off.
Okay.
Okay, thanks
Thank
so
you
much.
for coming.